lines, who tend to lean towards the candlelit heads of family, people who will ask you, where do you receive your gifts and how do you give them back? Someone will ask you for droplets of your dreams. Somewhere past the flattery of these words, on the other side of the mountain known as language, half past history and how far we have come, on the other side of time and how far we are yet to go, someone will ask you, where do you receive your gifts and how do you give them back? Someone will ask you for droplets of your dreams. Dear friends, dear family, someone will ask you to take your seat in the center. And I actually mean that. Take your seat in the center of this meaning. Hello. Of course, you are here to take a seat in the center of your glory, in the center of your honoring. Choose your place. Dear family, as you walk towards your center, I'm just here to tell you that tonight is about honoring you, honoring us, honoring them, honoring we. My name is Natalia Mulebadzi, and all I'm about to do is the easy part. I'm just here tonight to navigate you through this wonderful program. Are you there? Hello? Are you still here? I am surprised that you are still stretched out here. Urban planters and dreamers at the outskirts of incomplete promises. Urban planters and dreamers at the outcry of inconsistent promises. Earthquake-like fury and fires and floods that seem to rest only at ease on the summer land of someone's flesh. Your flesh, wagiti. Your flesh, wena onzakaleyo. Tutuzeka, wena uthembisiweyo. Always the promised one. Always the hardest working. Damn it, you've been working so hard. Yes, man. So this week has symbolized the work that is necessary, the work that needs to continue to happen. It has been full of emotion. It has been full of tears. It has been full of laughter. But tonight should be full of joy because you are doing the work that is pathfinding for tomorrow, so that tomorrow does not have to do the kind of work that you are here doing. Do you hear me? Do you understand? So tonight is about honoring. Tonight is about celebrating you, celebrating those who are coming, those who've come before. But also, tonight is about just occasionally, now and then, turn to the person sitting next to you and say an example of these words. You are worth it. You matter. You are a revolution. You are a revolutionary. You are love. And above all, you are loved. Damn it. Say it and mean it. Yeah, I think I'm going to have a good time with you here. We've got drinks, we've got you. We are sorted. So, I am going to start this beautiful night of honoring with just some wonderful music through musicians. You know, when fingers do the talking, when fingers are just doing some melody, almost like they are running through a whole entire body. I mean, please, Banabeso, my friends, my family, help me welcome the beautiful Muffins!
Sanibonani ninjani? Nibahle. So sizocula ingoma eziyi-few before the program continues, and we hope you enjoy. Ingoma yokuqala is titled Umsebenzi Wendoda, and it is a ode to single mothers and their struggle.
Mr. Simple cool on guitar with a beard. Thank you.
The next song we're going to do for you guys is called Kumbulekai. Let's go.
Abantu bahamba baboleka ilizwe lembola Sulabazula izizwe abafuna injabulo Umama wahamba wabaleka ilizwe landela umama Sulabazula izizwe abafuna injabulo
Abambelele sewasohlangana abambelele ilela inambe abambelele singane sohlangana amqinisela mhlamu yasaba Kaya labuzan, kaya mi, iza labuzan. Kaya labuzan, kaya mi, cuerpo Zira boy, zira ness, zira Kaya labuzan, kaya min, cuerpo nilito labuzan. Kaya labuzan, kaya min, simba. Sama, sama lega, sama yotika, Samuga, Sanjupeta, this isn't gone, and isn't trouble, the Kaya labuzani, kumule kaya min, gwelo nilizi kuzala. Kumule kaya, ikaya labuzani, la la, kumule kaya, gwelo nilizi kuzala. Dice la Zimbabwe,
One more time from Tabisi Siwanda. Sing along if you know the next one.
Malume, Chichore, protect the young girl. Do not touch the young girl, Malume. Sasimani, son of called Malume.
We're gonna do one more song for you guys. This one is called TIA. This is Africa.
Children of the dance freedom one is better than one given. Remember the kings and queens, child trees and ruins. But it's a continue our heroes missing. Children of the column rise and listen. In my father's house, my people's not gathering. We all are equals and strangers, but those who put in power should stay down. The master's shall call you, no to go, question intentions and if they fall. Masters try to help you, don't you care, question intentions and if they fail, just to be aware, don't you care, don't be greedy, this is Africa, where is the fall? Don't be greedy, this is Africa, land of milk and honey. Don't be greedy, this is Africa, there is enough around. Please don't be greedy, it's the land of milk and honey. The masters try to help you, don't you care, question intentions and if they fail, just be aware, don't be scared, hold on to the the masters try to help you, don't you care, question intentions and if they fail, be aware. This is Africa. There is no fall. Don't be greedy. This is Africa. Land of milk and honey. Please don't be greedy. This is Africa. There is enough for all. Please don't be greedy. I'm umhlaba wakho umhlaba wakho umhlaba wakho umhlaba wakho umhlaba wakho nolawe umhlaba wakho
Thank you very much. Keep fighting. We'll see you guys later.
Traveler, warrior, journey people, what are your foundations? Because I too, I am searching for my formations. I am searching for my formulations. And if any of you, traveler, warrior, journey people, ever get to the other side, tell them that we were made of flesh and the blues. Tell them that we were woven into flesh and loss and lies many times, but tell them that we were woven into flesh and long tapestries who hold us up when we can't uphold ourselves. Tell them that we were made of flesh and the love for music. How are the muffins though? Damn it, man. Humunati. Humunati, humunati, humunati. You can't even pretend humunati. So yeah, I told you earlier on, I told you two things, at least if you can remember, two things I mentioned, was that tonight was about honoring, right? Because we are here, even when we disagree or fight, we fight for love, yeah? We fight for equality. So it's for the good. So the other thing I mentioned, I said, now and then, you don't have to do it all the time, but now and then when the next person has forgotten, kind of turn your head and say, you are worth it. You know, stuff like that, you know, that just sometimes, like, don't do it all the time. Not when they're expecting it. Like, don't let them see it coming. That's when it hits the most. Tell them that they are a revolution and that they are a revolutionary. And I'll be right here talking about this honoring. Back to my peppers. Now, I'm going to need you to help me welcome 3 people. Like, you see, it's like a panel type situation who are going to give us some information about this honoring our heritage project. There are 2 very special people who are sitting amongst us that are going to receive this deep honoring that is so necessary. And so I would like to welcome and to ask you to help me welcome Caroline Mudzengi. Liskabang Limona. Yes. Vuyani Mhlomi and Ungokame Musweu. So, akaliboneng my family just says, what so? Oh my God. Yeah, I have leadership goals. So Hansa Bayame Balibantle yalo, as they are standing and they are just gorgeous like that. They know what they're going to do. Vuyani is going to give us a background on this Honoring Our Heritage program. And then Unkokame is going to read the citation of just, I don't know if I should mention the name, a special person. Yeah, but I'm not going to mention the name. Let's horror in suspense. And then Caroline will then read the other citation, the second one of the special people. So I'm going to give it over to them. Please give them love. This one.
Good evening, family. What an amazing program director we have this evening. So I was excited when I was invited to participate in the process that really emanated from a series of many discussions held amongst LGBTI activists at regional gatherings. Collectively, our leaders identified a gap in the intergenerational transition in the leadership of organized LGBTI activism, the recognition of the legacy we have inherited from early activists who built the LGBTI movements in the region, and the affirmation of new generations of LGBTI activists that have been cultivated. The race we're in is long, perhaps a relay of sorts. By being intentional about intergenerational transition and celebrating those who have run and have come before us, we ensure that we are not constantly starting at zero. Thus, I cannot overemphasize how meticulous we need to be in our exchange of our batons, so as to not lose momentum derived from the legacy of those who have come before. So collectively, as diverse persons from South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Botswana, our role was to identify these phenomenal activists to whom we owe so much. This was a mammoth of a task, and following a rigorous and deeply consultative process, we generated a pool of extraordinary individuals. It is from that pool that the individuals we celebrate tonight stood out. And so today, we honor the exemplary contribution and legacy of these long-standing activists who have done so much over a long period of time at great personal sacrifice to cultivate strong LGBTI movements in Southern Africa. Yes! And what an honor it is to have you with us, and thank you for your work.
No, you can't take my microphone, sibling, before I am, how? Bella, I'm the MC. Vuyani, thank you for that insight, for setting the scene and for that context. We appreciate the, yes, Godwa. Dokotela, yes. You know, when you are at the mall and you see family and they are doctor or they are musician or they are professor, even if they're close to you, say, Professor! So that the people must know it. Yabon, guitarist! Yabon, if they are a writer sister of mine. So that the people can know and understand. So, Doctor, thank you so much. And now I welcome, yes, you can come closer. Oh, I'll come closer to you now. Ongokami, what a beautiful Setswana name. Kana ke Motswana, so that's the bias I carry. Ongokami Mosweu, doing the magic of the magics.
Thank you. Dumelang bagaetsho. As a young gay man growing in Botswana, as a young gay man growing up in Botswana, my work and confidence to continue doing the work that I do has been greatly rooted in the efforts and contribution of those who came before me. And for that, it's a great pleasure to honor someone whom I grew looking to and whom I've enjoyed learning and being so close to the work that she has done. Ladies, gentlemen, non-conforming, conforming family. Please help me with a warm round of applause as we welcome Monica Tabengwa to the stage. Thank you. Monica Tabengwa, a Botswana-born human rights lawyer, researcher, and social justice champion. Her commitment in advocating for rights and voices of LGBTI people goes beyond Botswana, as her work is spread across Africa. And for that, we love her. Monica Tabengwa is one of the founding members and leaders of Lekhabibo, the Lesbians, Gays, Bisexuals of Botswana, an organization. Yes. And she was extensively included and involved in a legal case which took 10 years to ensuring that Lekhabibo is registered and that the people, LGBTI people in Botswana, are recognized. She was also the lead counsel in the first ever case against the government of Botswana for refusing to register and essentially recognize Lekhabibo and LGBTI people in Botswana. This move showed her braveness, showed her commitment to take such a case at a time where that was unheard of. Before she joined the LGBTI movement as an advocate, she was in defending women in the high courts and courts of Botswana, and leading the first and only at the time, only women's legal aid NGO. She represented indigent women in their quest for equality before the law, using test case litigation to foster legal reform. The enactment of the Protection from Domestic Violence Act is one of the many successes that came from her involvement in that work. Her dedication, passion to equality and protection of human dignity, and her ambition to better herself propelled her into the international human rights arena. She's passionate about evidence-based advocacy as a researcher. She previously worked with the Human Rights Watch and most recent PI as a director. She currently works for HIVOS as programs manager. Monica Tabengwa continues to use her voice and networks to capacitate younger and nascent organizing, and is a firm believer of documenting and telling lived experiences of LGBTI people in Africa. And for this, your work, your commitment, your dedication does not go unnoticed. For this, we honor you. For this, we love you.
For this, we love you. For this, we honor you. For this, you are breaking ground. For this, you are light. For this, you are... Those were not my words, but I will utter them. For this, you are a strong lesbian. That's not my word. So you can continue to be seated and just immerse yourself in this honoring. Let it sink in, because we don't honor people when they die. We honor them when they are sitting here listening to the honoring. So sit there, my sister. Let it sink in. And Caroline Mozenge is going to do the parts next. We do the parts in here. You know what the parts. Yeah, do them.
Evening, everyone. Power cuts in Zimbabwe, so I had to put it on paper. I don't want my phone to die on me. I would like cutting to the chase. So I would like to invite someone who most of us in this place know of or have heard about somewhere, because they're that kind of person. I would like to invite Fadzaim Parutsa. Um, uh, the story of Fadzai, a young Zimbabwean. Well, I don't know about that. Is one filled with many twists and turns. But I'll start at the beginning. Parents held their child on the 5th of October, 40 years ago, at Mbuyanehanda Maternity Clinic. That's a very symbolic name. And I'd like us to take a moment to appreciate that. Zimbabweans, you know of Mbuyanehanda. Everyone else, I'm sure you know of Mbuyanehanda. It was one of the places that was named after a Zimbabwean, then having another name, I'm sure, Spirit Media. The her story of Neanda Nyakasikanda is one of gallantry and epitomizes early feminism. And this is where Fadzai was born. The child born on that day, those many years ago, was to be called Fadzai. Fadzai in Shona, is a which is a Zimbabwean language, means to make happy. Little Fadzai's parents on that day challenged Fadzai. Fadzai was to be someone who would voice out and act against anything that would make them unhappy. They've done a lot of growing up since then, finding themselves Mbuya Shumba. I wonder if we should name a hospital after them. But this is what Fadzai had to say when I asked them when they were born. I wonder how many births I've had. As a 20-year-old, Fadzai's activist journey heightened. They constantly grew aware of the injustices faced by others like themselves. And with that awareness came a zeal to challenge those injustices. In a time where there were only the labels gay and lesbian, Fadzai attended a members' activity at GAUS, which was then the only LGBTQI, or rather gay and lesbian organization at the time in Zimbabwe. When I got there, I noticed something peculiar. Only 5 lesbian women out of the 50 people, they say. This did not sit well with me, and I quickly brought it up with the health officer. That was my undoing. Fadzai was then tasked with being the only lesbian member of the board of GAUS. And when the post of gender program manager came, Fadzai took it with both hands. As the program manager, back then a lesbian manager was a big thing. Fadzai charted new ways of organizing that saw the advent of other spaces and groups in other cities. Lesbian and bisexual women were organizing in other cities, and through Fadzai's networks from within the women's movement, getting space to hold meetings and activities. Later, Fadzai began to show a keen interest in international human rights instruments and regional and continental mechanisms. 10 years passed, and it was time for new ventures. Fadzai moved to Joburg, where they would soon find themselves volunteering at Coalition of African Lesbians. There they worked with African human rights mechanisms and how to disrupt the sometimes rigid spaces. In 2016, Fadzai sought yet another venture and became a consultant. In this capacity that Fadzai continues to work in, they push the LGBTQI agenda and train NGOs on LGBTQI rights. Back in Zimbabwe, they still work on proposals with different grassroots organizations. They sit on the advisory boards of Australia and Mama Cash. Fadzai's work has inspired us, has inspired me, and we continue to inspire generations to come. Today we celebrate you, your achievements, your resilience, your excellence, and your determination to succeed in a world literally designed to keep you down. We see you and we thank you and your efforts. Hard work, dedication, and commitment to our movement. Thank you, Fadzai.
Please give them another round of applause. Before we get to those who are honored, you need to think about who will do the honoring. Who will do the honoring? Who does the honoring? Who's going to honor another person tomorrow? Who's going to be the one who affirms? It's us. It's all of us. So thank you so much. You, Fadzai, who has moved mountains. I'm going to ask you to take your seats again because we are not done honoring Shem. Take your seats again because let me tell you something. This is how we do the honoring of those who walk on water, the Fadzais of this world. Let me tell you something. We are not done. This is the moment of honoring. Watch and listen.
As I'm laying down, heaven hear me now. I'm lost without a cause after giving it my all. Think the storms have come, and I've been myself after all. After all my strength is gone, in you I can be strong. I look to you. I look to you. And when melodies are wrong, in you I hear a song. I look to you. Take me far away from the battle.
In thinking about decolonization, how we name each other, maybe there's also an opportunity for us to start thinking critically about how we start developing a whole thought that's very different. There are people who we've read who developed thought. So how do we then take that up as a critical group of people who think and start writing things down and start thinking outside of the norms, the set, the boundaries. I want to get militant and say, yes, like, let's go hard. But then, because a lot of the times you have to sit down with diplomats, I've become softer and trying to be more diplomatic. It's terrible. Yes, I have been co-opted. It's really terrible. Once you start talking about LGBTI people only as identities, it also means that we create a certain kind of exceptionalism. And so what we try and do is not take ourselves out of the human race, right? Like the challenges that we experience as LGBTI people aren't outside of the challenges that other people are experiencing.
About it no more. Are the beautiful ones really dead? Nisilibe noma nisala ngoma, nisala ngoma. Nisilibe noma nisala ngoma nina, nisala ngoma. Nisilibe noma nisala ngoma, nisala ngoma. Nisilibe noma nisala ngoma nina, nisala ngoma.
Your sexual conduct has got nothing to do, with these freedoms. Your freedom of association, freedom of expression are fundamental, and you should be allowed to. It doesn't matter how small, whether it's one person or 10 people, everybody has a right to. It is recognizing that we are all equal and we should be able to access rights, notwithstanding how many we are or how popular the issue is. The freedom of expression and association is an important right within a democratic society. And what we need to do is form alliances on equal basis, find issues that we can find some common ground. I think we agree that for our all well-being, we do need faith, we need fellowship, we need all of this stuff to be complete human beings. And to be excluded from some of these spaces can be quite traumatic, and we need to be able to work together in that respect. To do something. I have 5 brothers, and I never felt less equal than them, but there was always something that treated me of less, just a little bit less of an equal. I had to fight that much harder, and so that drove me to want to do something. So the path was chosen right from there, watching my mother work really, really hard to raise 8 children, which she did very well, by the way. All 8 of her children she put through university single-handedly, and that's amazing. My younger sister is here to celebrate to celebrate with me, because this is really an honor. And so I watched this and I said to myself, no, you got to do something. What's the best way to do it? I decided I was going to do law. Which, of course, my mother was like, that's the longest course you can do. Can't you find something for 3 years? I'm like, but to me, that was the way to fight this injustice, right? To find the equality. And so I did. I studied law at the University of Botswana. Thankfully, Botswana grants scholarships, right? Where are the Botswana here? Pula! Yeah, so that was the beginning, really. It was the beginning of my activism. The beginning of the rest of my life. There is no separation between my personal life and my career, my activism. It is about me. It is about me wanting to change what I see as an injustice. that getting into a space at the African Coalition and being called an angry lesbian, God damn it, I am angry, right? I am angry that all of this stuff that I have to endure just to really be able to express myself, stand in my society, in a community, and say to people, I am who I am. I'm a woman, I'm a lesbian, I love women, and yeah, without being judged, without being told, no, you can't say that, you know? And so that was really what has been driving me. And, you know, it's just being with all the others, you get the energy from working with people like you, finding support sometimes in very unusual places. I have lots of friends who have supported me. My family has been amazing. I've had a lot of loves. I've had lots of losses. This is also, you know, about sacrifice. As you go along, you realize there is so much that you sacrifice, and the appreciation is not that tangible, right? You give up so much. Many of us don't have health insurance. Many of us don't even earn enough to be able to go to a doctor when we need to go to a doctor. But what we give is so much more, right? And so, but we need to keep fighting. We need to keep fighting to say, we are here, we're human beings, and we're going to stay alive and just be. Yeah. So really, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Neville and his team for finding this space, for deciding that today they are going to honor some people. And I got lucky. Yeah, and tomorrow it will be somebody else, because there are so many deserving people. There are so many people who work hard. They go unrecognized. Every little action counts for something. And I think we need to really pat ourselves on the back. Look at our colleague Fazai. You rock, right? Say that. Fazai, you're doing so much. What did you say? What were the words? The three things, yeah. You're worthy. You're loved. Because you are important to this movement, right? So we need to do that. And so I want to thank you guys for finding this space, for recognizing all the work that has come. And I'm pretty sure that it will inspire so many other people. Young people today are taking the streets. They're doing everything. There's social media. They're out there, and they need to be seen. Everybody needs to be seen to be appreciated. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to also thank Botswana, Kane, Alice, Unkokami. There are many of you. When I first started this, it was more of a trial and error. It was an experiment. But they allowed me to experiment with a lot, with their lives. So we were basically meeting wherever we could. In my house, in any basement we could find, whether it's at Ditsanelo or Bonella, we did it. We tried to lure people with alcohol. We know, we like to drink, right? Party. And that works. Sometimes you do what you gotta do, right? So, and it has worked, right? At first, we had the small dream of just getting Le Habibo registered. That was the one beginning of a dream. What do we have today, Kane? Le Habibo has been registered, and now we have decriminalization. So the sky is the limit when you have the people, when you have the will, when you do your best and you come together, find the alliances to work together, find the friends, love your friends and work together and bring this. And I want to say to this group of amazing activists, amazing people, amazing human rights defenders, thank you for giving me that opportunity, for allowing me to experiment with your lives. Thank you, Pula. Yeah. So this is my Oscar speech ending. So, so I want to say thank you to everyone. You made my day, you made my year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
And then you just want to be hugged by this. Because the shoe game. Because you are a revolution. You are a fire brewing. You are a river feeding. You are a whole entire ocean. You will be our memory. You are an entire melody wena mosadi tuwe. Hey! One who forces open the doors that were never ready and unfortunately will never be ready for our kind. However, we are ready to smash those doors open. Always have. Re a go leboga tlhe. And another speech, huh? Fazai! Fazai! We see you, we hear you. A whole entire revolution. You've done so much. And you're not even my age. And you've done so much. I honor you. And these people here honor you. And I'm going to shut up and listen to you.
I was never ready. Thank you. So, firstly, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm going to read my speech because from the moment I received the news that I had been selected for an honoring, I've been crying, right? And I've been crying because it's a really tough road, right? The work that we do, the spaces we go into, the people we bump shoulders with, the people who actually fucking bump into us. So in order for me to fully convey my message, I had to write. And that's also a difficult thing because I get caught up in my head about a lot of things. So please indulge me while I read from my paper, and not because I'm from Zimbabwe. It's just, it's actually a very different situation. I'm from Zimbabwe! But it's because my phone's dead, so it like stays on the charger. So yeah. So indulge me. Ndinopa kutenda kune mhuri nedzinza rangu rekwamparutsa nerekwamachiri. Ndinopa kutenda kune vadzimu vangu vari muvhu nevari mutsoka vanondichengeta murwendo rweupenyu. Ndinopa kutenda kune vadzimu vangu Shumba Mutasi. Ndinopa kutenda kuna baba vangu Mambo Mutasa Dewe Mparutsa. Ndinopa kutenda kuna mai vangu Murongo Sera Machiri. Ndinopa kutenda kune vanin'ina vangu nehanzvadzi dzangu. Ndinopa kutenda kune munin'ina wangu Muzvare Chido Mparutsa, wangu wepamwoyo ari pano neni nhasi. Ndinopa kutenda kune mashamwari angu. Ndinopa kutenda kune mudiwa wangu andinofamba naye murwendo rweupenyu Amanda Hodgson. Ndinopa kutenda kune mimese muri pagungano rino mwashuma ndauwo. I have been reflecting on myself, reflecting on self in relation to our movements, movement building and collectives, thinking about who we are collectively, where we are going, what our shared interests are, who we serve, and most importantly, who we are as individuals in the growing, shaping, and being of our movements.
Collectively and as individuals, we have developed analysis, written papers, shared our stories on injustices and violence and the oppressions that we experience, not only because of our sexual orientations and gender identities and sex characteristics, but because of who we are, the multiple identities that we carry, and where we come from. We're shaped by our history, the history of those whose footsteps we follow, and the history of our experiences in the pursuit of happiness, justice, and liberation. We have come together to celebrate in a moment of great joy. We have come together to celebrate in moments of great joy and held each other through pain. We have built organizations, managed vast amounts of money, mobilized our communities, but there is still work to be done. The individual work that sustains the health and well-being of our organizations and movements. See, Monica, I was really prepared for my Oscar speech. Page 1. Wait. You wait. I said you were never read. As activists, we have taken on the work we're doing, made intentional decisions to create safe, brave spaces for those who are there now and for those who are to follow. We have a responsibility to ourselves, a responsibility to be accountable, a responsibility to be mindful of the body and the being we work in, and a body that needs to be constantly checked in on to make sure that we have not become that which we fight. The last death of Robert Mugabe, because he has had many deaths, reminded me that celebrating a liberator I'm sorry. It's true. He died too many times. But he's dead. He's dead. Yeah, so they say. Okay. All right. So the last death of Robert Mugabe, because he's had many deaths, reminded me that celebrating a liberator means that there are things we choose to remember and things we choose to forget. We tend to forget the things that make us most uncomfortable, the inconvenient truths, because we share similar inconveniences. The things we would rather no one knows about, the things we would rather not remember, and the things that we hide, our shadows. Being activists and human rights defenders calls us to not only look to the outside as the source of injustice, violence, and oppression, but rather we're being called on and being challenged, actually, to do the hard work of understanding the baggage that we carry and the harm we cause ourselves and each other, and the impact that has on our movements and the movements we're nurturing and building. The story of Robert Mugabe, ZANU-PF, and the freedom fighters serves as a cautionary tale to how we engage with and understand how we use and exercise our power. So, what hierarchies are we creating? Who are we leaving out in our processes of movement building, even though we have co-opted the language of we leave no one behind? How much of our language and ideology is being co-opted? What are we allowing to be co-opted and watered down for an insignificant gain? How do we become the gatekeepers we want to see in the world? How do we ensure that our values and visions are protected? What legacy are we living? This is a lot to ask of ourselves. And there are many more necessary questions and points of interrogation to get into. Guys, they said 5 minutes. I timed it. I'm sure some of the things I've mentioned are cause for pause. In particular for me, would be the language around gatekeeping. To be the gatekeepers we want to see in the world calls us to interrogate and problematize our experiences of gatekeeping that have resulted in elitism. So yes, I'm advocating for a certain form of exclusivity, a process where those who share in an ethos, an ideology, deliberately protect a space. It made sense to me when I thought about how when a child is born, the family, parents, friends, siblings, cousins, and those who have a vested interest in the child's welfare nourish that child. There's a trust that everyone brings their knowledge and love for the child and each other. Where there are disagreements about knowledge or approach, there are processes that happen to align and readjust. The child is tooled with skills that they can use, but in the event that there's something lacking, they can come back to the family. I hope this analogy makes sense, right? And you understand why I'm talking about gatekeeping, right? I think it's necessary. Our space needs to be protected because there is a real threat of having our gains, the gains that we have made, erode. In this gatekeeping, there's also a real need to have boundaries in how we engage as a whole and separately, which in my thinking means a separate space for each other to develop our thoughts and ideas, and the space to come back to the bigger group and share and reconvene. However, to have the gatekeeping we want to see in the world, we really need to do individual personal work, or we risk having a space that is stifling and in effect poisonous. I think it would be interesting to have conversations around this and see what points we arrive at, especially if we're thinking about what that means for a relatively young movement. Whew. Recently, I've had a profound experience of growth. I went through a training process that called on me to sit with myself for long periods of time and to listen to what I thought was silence, but also to listen beyond the words. From that silence, I remembered that my task in life and the thing that I was called to do was to give without expectation. It was important to remember that it was important for me to remember this even though I had been reminded of this task years earlier. I think this reminder is for all of us, to go back to the things that we have forgotten, to remind ourselves of our purpose. While my task is a difficult one to carry, because we walk through life and the world with expectations, and we want our efforts to be recognized, I now find myself in one such space where recognition and honor are being bestowed on me. And so I speak to myself and caution myself, as others should have done with Mugabe. They did, maybe he, I don't know. So, to me, from me, with this recognition and honor, and what I am receiving from you today, and for being celebrated, may I remember humility. May I not seek homage and patronage. May those around me continue to hold me accountable when I make mistakes. May the mistakes that I make, you know when you make people write things for you. Okay, I get where I am. You know what happened? I included something because I was like, oh, we need to have a giggle, but then I put it in the wrong place. You know, may the mistakes that I make create the space for me to grow, because some shit is bound to happen. You see, it went in the wrong place. May I always remember that the work I did and will do is done collectively. May I continue to look into the mirror to see myself, my shadows, and to learn from them and to hold myself accountable. My call to us as activists and human rights defenders who are rebelling is, let us be ready for the work and the struggle before us by doing the difficult individual work of introspection that will sustain our movement. Thank you for honoring me. Thank you for honoring those who walk with me. Thank you for honoring those who have walked with me and continue to walk with me. Mwashuma, ndatend, ndauo.
control now. We can't even slow down.
Amakawe!
Oh, wow.
Only Kawe Lamakawe, never forget that. As you walk this journey, know that you are affirming and you are affirmation. Manabesu, did you remember to say those soothing, beautiful words to your next door neighbor there? Now you are playing me. Remember to say those words everywhere you walk, because you know what? They are rare and far in between. So remember to always utter them on this journey.